you had as a friend, but you just don't see eye to eye. Not falling out, but you might just say, well, I prefer not to reconnect with them.
We can always have that tendency of what I've just said annoyed anybody or pissed anybody off, excuse my language.
Friends will come and go, things will be there, but it's, make sure you concentrate on yourself rather than amending yourself.
So shocked that he just won't reply.
Yeah. I think I will send him a traditional text-based WhatsApp message.
What Radio 1 is. Sorry.
Radio 1, yeah, Radio 1.
You know what that is, right? Okay.
Chris Evans.
Maybe 20 years ago.
Yeah, not when did you mention first? Simon Mayo. That's even before my time.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry guys, we're interrupting.
Inspiration Nation, hello. Lee Kemp here for another week on the podcast. As always, with my good friends Ryan Boniface and in his time machine from the 70s, Jose Noya. How are we doing, guys?
Yeah, not bad, thank you.
For those watching on YouTube, Joe is back in his ancestral home, in the place where he grew up this week. How does it feel? Are you feeling all nostalgic being back there, Joe?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, very nostalgic. Getting everything looked after. It's amazing.
That's what I love to hear, Joe. That's why you're back in time, back to your youth, reliving what could have been. We got a little pre-podcast hello from Joe's mum, which made my day. So shout out hello to Joe's mum there. We know she's in the background taking care of Joe, which is good to hear. Right.
Number one fan of the show.
Absolutely. And we are her number one fan as well.
Hey.
Right. Thank you, everyone listening, downloading, watching, of course, YouTube, across all podcast platforms, and follow us on social media at Listen to IN, Listen TOIN. I believe after I threw our routine out horrendously, we're back for a week of Joe this week for the subject. Is that right, Jose?
I think you are right. Is this now my subject this week? So let me reveal what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about a film called...
maybe not. Again.
Or maybe not, because someone hasn't watched one. No, we're not going to do that. No, seriously, another subject. We are going to talk about friendship.
I don't really have a point of reference for this subject.
Right. This is where we have to discuss this in detail. So the reason I'm talking about this is because, frame of reference, Lee, of course, we always expect your jokes as part of your thing, your persona. Your
charm
your thing
is the word you're looking for. Charm.
Persona on the podcast. If you meet Lee in person, it's totally. You'll get a different side of him. It's very warm-hearted,
very serious,
loving person. It's very kind.
I'm not sure either
thoughtful.
Of you are right.
So it's what I'm talking about, friendship. So the reason is because, how do we define friendship? Okay, you can have long friendships for a long time, right? Lifelong friendships. You can have short friendships. There can be friendships for seasons, and this is what I want to talk about. Really, about how do we frame it? How do friendships get formed? And how do we, I suppose, look after them? But what are the challenges around friendships? There's quite a lot around it. So I suppose I'll just kick off for my views. Is that if I look back at my life, and actually Lee and Ryan were talking to me, we were speaking pre-podcast, and I was talking about, I was 18, totally different set of friends back then to what I have now. And some of the friends that I got back then, I still keep in contact, but it's very, very, it could be sometimes once every 6 years, 5 years, 1 year. But there's some people you just click with and you just pick it up. Even last week, I sent a voicemail to a dear friend of mine. I just thought of them, and I thought, I tell you what, I'm just going to just send them a video message. So instead of just texting, I actually said, "Hey, how you doing?" And do you know what? And we hadn't spoken for a while. And do you know what they responded? And they responded back with a video saying, "Oh, that was such a lovely, kind message." And we basically had a video call. I think we had a massive 2-hour chat, and we've not been away. It was really, really good. And so talking about those types of friendships that you don't need to talk to each other a long time, but you pick it up and you just away you go. Other type of friendship I want to talk about is friends that you sort of meet for a short period. You sort of get together a purpose, and then for some reason you just drift apart. You don't sort of see them again. There's friends that you become friends, you fall out with. Have we got any of those? And the last one I want to talk about really is friendship that we relatively new friendships, like, and I know Lee for a while, so it's not really that new. But when did it become a friendship? I mean, this is the strange thing. Like, look at back at the we I was in a team with Lee. I was leading that team, and I suppose we were friends. But when did it form? Like, when did this actually come about? And that probably Lee can provide perspective. And now Ryan, Ryan's come on. We had a really good chat before the show, and we've really just clicked as a group of three. And so I'd like to examine that a little bit as to what makes it work. Why does it work? And so, I just want to throw out to you guys and just throw that out about friendship definitions and the sort of experiences that you have, and again, people to examine their own friendships and what that means. So, any thoughts on that, guys?
I wasn't aware that we were friends, so that's quite a novel...
There you go, right? So, expectations, definition of friendship. So, come on, Lee, tell us why.
Why what? Why we're not friends?
Yeah, this one.
I don't know. I feel you cramped my style a little bit, Joe, if I'm honest, drinking your weird cucumber water that you're drinking there.
It's not cucumber, it's lemon balm.
I'm intrigued by this, actually. I'm intrigued. Right. No, it's good. I like this. And it's interesting how you divide it up into those sections of friends as well, because I'm trying to count them up in my head now. Not because there's loads of them, but just so I don't miss anyone, but probably 5, 6, I would say at most, people I count as regular friends now that I talk to very regularly, at least every week, something like that. If it is 6, you two make up a third of that number. You'll be very pleased to know.
I did wonder.
Of people that I've been, and there's like one person from school that I'm still in contact with now that we probably talk on a weekly basis. I've got someone I worked with in my first job who we exclusively text. I think in the last 5 years, we've probably seen each other face to face once, maybe twice, maybe spoken on the phone once during that time, but we text every single day. Who used to work ages ago, friend from a place where we met, Joe, that I talked to, that probably falls in that category where it's on and off. So we'll go a couple of years where we talk quite regularly, meet up quite regularly and see each other, and then might go a year and a half, maybe 2 years, hardly speaking at all, and then get back in contact again, and it kind of goes on and off like that. And then, of course, you're two good selves, but they're in the kind of the regular bit outside of probably as well a couple of people like the person you referenced there, Joe, who I probably don't talk to for extended periods of time. But then when we get back in touch for whatever reason, it's like we've not skipped a beat and it's all, regular and flowing and natural. But then it'll probably drift off into that thing where it's probably a good couple of years again till we speak to each other again, just life getting in the way and all that sort of stuff. So that's kind of what, when you say about it, my number of friends alike and the category I fall into. And then, like you said, there's a lot more people than that who, work friends. Loads of people I work with, I speak to regularly. And you've had it over years where you talk a lot because you work together. And then when you haven't got that link anymore, it can drift apart quite quickly. So a lot of kind of regular people now that I speak to because of situations in life. Not sure I've had any friends I've fallen out with, though. Might be lucky in that regard. I don't know whether that's a regular thing or not, but I don't think there's anyone that I don't talk to anymore because we had some big falling out or anything else like that.
I suppose, is there anybody that you had as a friend, but you just don't see eye to eye? Not falling out, but you might just say, well, I prefer not to reconnect with them.
Oh, so yeah, so probably not seeing eye to eye. There's probably a lot of people that were, been friends with or were influenced on my life, or even I looked up to at one point, that as I've grown and evolved and changed, I think me now wouldn't necessarily want to be influenced by that. Don't get me wrong, they might change up, but that person then, so I wouldn't make an effort to reach out or whatever. Not that I avoid them, but they're not people I see now. But I probably, as you change over time, there's people that I probably would get on with less now if they are who they were back then, if that makes sense. Yeah,
it does. I think I was just going to say
changes.
Yeah, I suppose there's that whole thing, isn't it, around, just seeing whether have they changed, but it's just you don't seek them out, do you? Right, what about you?
Yeah. I think people that I would class as actual friends, I might just scrape 10. Similarly to Lee, I have a lot of people that I talk to pretty regularly because of work or through work that I probably wouldn't talk to if I didn't work with them anymore, but they probably wouldn't talk to me if they didn't work with me anymore. But there are people in that category that I would, so I would count them in that 10. I think being introverted, and that's not the usual way I describe myself, but extrovertedly introverted, I think is what I'd usually say. But I don't need a big group of friends to provide that validation that friendship provides. And friendship isn't just about you, it's about them as well, obviously. But I like I like not having to make appearances all the time. I like that I don't have to. And that's probably the reason why I don't have that many friends. Well, 10 is still obviously a good number, but why I don't have plethoras of friends is because I probably couldn't be bothered to maintain that effort. Because we've spoken about it before, but if it doesn't impact on me that much, then it isn't something that I really am that bothered about. If people do impact on me, as you guys will have known, then I do put that effort in. And I think that's resonant and true of our three's friendships as a group. Obviously, there are slightly different factors to them. Like, I've known Lee longer, and I have to talk to him for work and stuff. So I would say that I talk to Lee more than I do Joe, but I would also say that Joe would say he would talk to Lee more than I. So I think that's fair. If we stop doing the podcast for whatever reason, then I would still probably have conversations with Joe, which to me then extends that once you remove the common denominator of why you have to talk, you still do. And that's probably how I would classify having friends. You take away the necessity of having to talk to them, and you choose to. That then strikes friendship tones with me.
Yeah. And that's, I said my bit, that's where I picked up people along the way where there was that reason, but then the friendship has
maintained after
thereafter, even though exactly like you said, even though you've lost that reason why you have to talk to each other.
I don't think that you and I became friends the day you asked me to help out with the podcast, because it didn't feel business-like, but it was, I need a hand with this. Can you help me? And it was very much opening the door to that situation to happen. And you probably thought, this guy seems straight up. I get on with him quite well. We're probably gonna have to work together in a formal actual work environment, and I get on with him quite well. So I'm happy to include him in that. And then a friendship just evolved from that position, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely that.
So yeah. Are there any friends that I've fallen out with and lost? Yeah. Primarily because I think we were both, or whoever it was, were young and immature, and didn't act in the best interests of each other. But would I still be friends with them now if I had the choice? Probably not. So am I worse off for losing that? No. But that doesn't mean that I wouldn't have tried to maintain it in it anyway. Do I have friends now that I probably am better off if I didn't have them? Yeah, but I think that's probably the same for most people, is that you have friends that are good for your life, and you have friends that not necessarily are as good, or for whatever reason, but you still enjoy their company, you still get on really well, you still have that click or that rapport, and whilst you can be very close to them, that you don't let them impact you in that way. I think everyone has that, or if they don't, then most people will know someone that's had that, or does have that. Does that mean I value that friendship any less? No. I'm just not naive enough to be influenced entirely on what my friends say and do, and how they act. But again, I think that comes with the ability or knack, or I'm not even sure it is an ability, maybe an inability of being able to just survive by myself, and not needing to rely on the validation, as I say, of others to suggest my self-worth. So yeah, obviously I love having friends, but they aren't without trying to sound rude, they aren't the sole reason that I'm alive, or that I do what I do. And if I were to lose them or fall out with all of them, then I know that I would be okay. I have had friends that I've fallen out with and made up with and not spoken to them for about a 6-month period on numerous occasions, but still made up with because, I don't know, we're destined to be friends, or the damage or the argument or whatever wasn't unmendable. So, you know, these things happen. Sometimes you have a difference of opinion and things will always get heated and things escalate, you know, but that's just life. So yeah, that's probably my stance.
So Jose, there in your like reference earlier, was it the 70s you grew up in or the 80s? Where were your formative years? How much older are you than me? It's more 80s and 70s, to be fair, isn't it?
More 80s and 70s. Oh, thanks, Lee. You're so kind to me. It's the 70s.
Yeah. When were your teenage years?
Oh, teenage years. Oh, that would be late 80s.
And I'm just thinking that because that's kind of like especially around friendships and stuff, that's a bit your formative years. And you're back in your bedroom. So you're actually from the 80s rather than the 70s now. I'll let you have that. But
okay, yeah.
I suppose
okay,
how different is your view on friendship back where you were then to how you are now as you approach your 90th year on this earth? My maths is all over the place today, isn't it?
So good at maths. And I love Lee's little giggle there. That was great. Do you know, it's a really good question because I don't think I really consciously thought about it when I was younger. I would just go with the flow. I didn't think, oh, is this friendship good for me or not, or whatever. And I don't think I even think of it like that. I'm a very feeling-based person, and we talk about 16 personalities. If I feel it's right, I'll hang out with people. If I feel it's wrong, I won't. It's really like if I connect with people, I will tend to hang out with those types of people. So that's how I did when I was younger. But like Ryan said, there'd be like I played football, I was in a band, so I'd be making friends in those areas. Do I still see the people I played football with back when I was a teenager? Very occasionally. In fact, one of the guys that I used to hang about with actually runs a local electric shop, and now because I need to, I say, "What are you doing?" You know, and you sort of have a little chat. But it's not very conscious, and I don't think it still is. I just think for me it's very feeling based. So I still do it the same way. I think there'd be a lot more depth though. I think now if I was looking at friendship, I thought, is this good for me? Is this really? Do I want that to hang about those types of people? I'd probably cut that off a lot earlier than I would have done when I was younger, because I think when I was younger, I just want to hang around and be with people. And sometimes, even if it wasn't good for me, I'd probably still hang around them because when you're young, you want to feel like you belong to a tribe. And I think Ryan's thought that he would survive without anybody, I think it's a really, you know, in terms of you wouldn't survive long. You would survive, but it's like that whole thing around, you know, I can manage without them. I think I didn't have that awareness. I would always think I want to have a friendship group. If I don't have friends, I'd feel quite lonely. And I think there's a lot of things around. Now I know, but my personality type is that I get energy from other people, you know, extroversion. But if you're introverted, right, they suck the energy out of you. So again, there's a bit of a dynamic there. So going back to the question of, is there a difference? Yes, I think I know more about myself now, so I hang about with people that I choose to, rather than just going through the motions just because I want to please people. I suppose I'd probably more of a people pleaser. But now, as I've got more aware of my tendencies, I'd probably go back and go, do you know what? I don't want to be friends with them. I'm not going to make an effort, and I don't really care about whether I'm people pleasing or not. That's the difference, I think, for me. That question right back at you two. That's a really good question. Is there anything in that for you guys?
I think, and I started thinking about this while we were all talking, which is why I wanted to kind of dive in on that a bit. And yeah, I think for me, and we've talked about this in previous podcasts, or I've kind of shared this, but I think that certainly when I was a lot younger, and again thinking back to teenage years, early 20s, that sort of stuff, I think I used to seek out a lot of validation from friendships. So it almost became important. It's that acceptance thing, to be accepted. And I think that kind of blurred that, is it good for me, is it not good for me thing very, very much, because I think I can see it now looking back, it was the wrong sort of reasons, because I know now that I didn't, and I don't, and nobody need that validation. You don't need someone else to endorse that you're okay. But it's a thing a lot of people go through and a lot of people do. And I think that sometimes led to some potentially unhealthy friendships, maybe. Again, retrospectively, rather than like you being conscious of it at the time. Whereas now, very much, it's not about that validation thing. It's a two-way thing, and I choose to be friends with, as people do choose to be with me, people where it's a good relationship and we both get something out of it, and we do it because we have things in common, or we enjoy each other's company, or we've got strong links that go back years and years and years and years and years. Whereas I think potentially I'd allow people to draw energy out of me that probably wasn't in the right way because of that validation thing. And I think that's the biggest thing that's changed for me over time. And I think I wish I'd have not had that need for that validation a lot sooner than I do now, because I just think it kind of drove and included in me wrong behaviors in how I was going about things, maybe. And I think that's probably the biggest bit that's changed within that. It's not like I'd sat there all day and be obsessed about, do people like me, do they not like me, whatever else. But once I was in those social situations, it kind of, I wasn't just relaxing and being myself, because I was wanting to make sure that I fit in, if you like, was the sort of thing. And I say that's probably what's changed, probably on a scale over years. It's not like a light switch just clicked at one time, but that's probably the biggest difference as I've grown as a person, I suppose.
Yeah, I like that.
I think
Ryan, go on.
I was quite similar to Lee, and I think it kind of bears from the fact that I wasn't very popular at school. I had friends at school, but I wasn't necessarily popular. So I think that validation made me kind of realize that, or seeking that validation at least, maybe think that I wasn't as unpopular as maybe I thought as a result. But being that unpopular at school kind of helped drive the personality trait that I have, that I don't need to rely on anybody else. Again, similarly, I sought that validation that I no longer do. I've gone through phases of not having friends, and it isn't, whilst I can survive it, it's not that it doesn't get lonely occasionally. There would always be times where I wish I could have reached out for a television recommendation, or spoken about a recent sport outcome, or something along those lines to people. And I had people that I could do that to, but I wouldn't necessarily have called them friends. And I think that's kind of really striking. I think if you're a young person and you're listening to this and you're just finishing school or whatever, and you're worried about not making friends, then you'll make a lot of superficial friendships in workplaces as life goes on. So there isn't anything to worry about.
That's good, and that's part of the message I think I want to is key to give is a lot of people go through that, and I think you touched on a really interesting point, Ryan, which is because of that need for validation, it creates what is probably a perception to you of popularity that's probably completely out of kilter with what everyone else sees.
Yeah, and what I've always had on my side is, and I don't want to necessarily talk about myself like that, all the time, but I feel like I've always had a pretty good personality for just making friends. I feel like I'm easy to get on with. Sorry, I'd like to think I'm quite funny. I'd like to think that I'm quite relatable, or people would enjoy spending time around with me. So I think I've never struggled to make friends. It's sometimes I've struggled to maintain keeping friends, but that just boils down to being the procrastinating person that I am. And if you aren't adding, not value, because that's not what friends are really for, but if you aren't adding light to my life, if you like, then it's not something that I'm ever going to really drive for. But that
my closest friends now are the ones who completely accept that I am the worst person in the world for getting back to people, and know that it's not that I'm not ignoring them. They might just need to nudge me one or two times to get that sort of response back.
Yeah,
a mutual friend of ours, Joe, texted me the other day with the words of, "You are the worst text message responder in the world," which prompted me to then respond to his previous message.
Do you know what? And I love that. I love that whole thing of that. I think that's true friendship there, isn't it? It's about accepting you for who you are, You know,
There
in
are-
Lee's case, just go on, Ryan.
There are times, and maybe it's in more of a work environment than it is a social one, where I'll say something, and I'll use a specific example of you, Lee, where I'll say something and you won't reply for 5. We'll be having a constant conversation, like 2-3 minutes of constant conversation, like typing or an instant message or whatever, and I'll say something that's slightly controversial, and you won't reply for 3 minutes, and I'll be like, oh God, he thinks I'm terrible. I'm going to lose my job. And then I always have to back it up with you, but you know what I mean, or I'm sure they're not always like this, or I'm sure this situation isn't that bad, just to kind of soften the blow of the thing that I've controversially said that is questionable. But that, I think that in a way filters into this as well, because of wanting to fit in. I think I'll always have that tendency, and I don't know about you, Lee, you in yourself, but you'll always have that tendency of what I've just said annoyed anybody or pissed anybody off, excuse my language, or annoyed anyone or pushed the boat out too far of how these people accept me. And I think I'll always be like that. But I think that's also some kind of emotional intelligence of not being a complete donut to people, because whilst you want to be yourself around people, if that value doesn't line up with the main society's kind of, a fair and reasonable assumption of life, then you're not going to keep any friends, are you? If I go around kind of talking about, I don't know, supporting what Hitler's views were, for example, with my friends, because that's who I am, then that isn't my friend's fault for saying you're a donut, I'm not talking to you anymore. That's me for having the wrong beliefs. So whilst it's important to be yourself, it's important to also check yourself and be responsible.
That's really good point.
And aware of who you are as well.
Yeah.
I've used a really wide kind of analogy, but
no, it's good point.
It's important because you've got to, like you said, it's emotional intelligence thing. It's being aware of how your words can impact other people and how they feel them. And it is always good to double check that, just that you don't end up amending yourself to fit in with other people. That's kind of where the line is, but you can go far too far on either end of that spectrum. So if you want to be a neo-Nazi, be a neo-Nazi. You just might have different friends. I think that was the heartfelt message of what Ryan wanted to say.
Do you know what?
The TLDR is what Lee just said.
I don't know what
that is.
Oh, you ever heard of Reddit?
Yes, I'm aware of its existence.
So a lot of people write, you know what Reddit is, Joe?
I've heard of it, but I don't know what the hell
it's an online forum website, basically, where you can talk about anything. And a TLDR means too long, didn't read. So somebody will write like a dissertation of something and then write TLDR, 5 words that just summarize their entire long message. And that's what Lee just did. So.
Look at that. I feel like I've learned a bit of youth there as well. Awesome.
It's really good. And I really like that conversation, because I think a friendship is about, it's a two-way thing, right? It's not about going full in on that, but like appreciating, and sometimes you having to curb some of the things just so, helping them out as well, because there is a two-way thing here. But I suppose that comes back to expectations about how you have that, see that friendship as well, I suppose, isn't it? How you view it. But yeah, I really love that. Anything else to add, guys, on that? I really enjoyed that, by the way.
Not from me.
It's good. It's good to think about that. And actually, I think after this, I'm going to send a little hello, how you doing, to my mate that I speak to once every couple of years, and just check in and see how he's doing.
What type of message will it be?
It will be a textular message. Via the media. Hold on, I've got to check what I messaged him.
I bet he'd be well shocked if you record a quick video and send it to him.
He will be so shocked that I feel like I shouldn't do it, just in case it causes problems for him.
So shocked that he just won't reply.
Yeah, I think I will send him a traditional text-based WhatsApp message.
Okay,
I like it.
Maybe with an emoji and a GIF thrown in there just for the lols.
Get a Brucey bonus there.
Do you remember when iMessage was like the best thing since sliced bread? And now no one ever uses it. Everyone just uses WhatsApp.
I remember when a phone that could do one of the things, losing my words again, where you get your list of all your benefits of your phone and what makes this phone better than that phone. And one of them was how many characters you could put in a text message.
Yeah, nice.
And I'm pretty sure it was like 120 characters or something, which is less than you put in a tweet.
It's less than a tweet, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that a Nokia 8010 or something?
There was someone I knew and they were buying a Nokia that was I was a bit like, why is that? And he said, because I have twice as many characters for text messages.
And I can play Snake.
This sounds like a game idea for top trumps. And, like my iPhone or this phone.
What,
does
mobile
that.
phones? Yeah.
Yeah.
Phone trumps.
Oh my God, this could be. Top trumps. Anyway.
Patent pending.
That's weird. Anyway. How are we doing for time, guys? I can't see any time.
We're in the final.
We're in negative equity.
Minutes, yeah. So we need to start wrapping this up, Jose.
I just feel that this could go on longer. I don't know about you, but I just think, anyway. But I just think this could go on longer. But go on, carry on. Go on, Lee.
You can come back to it.
Yeah, this is good. I said this is it's been a good thought.
Lee's always after a cheap subject, so.
Definitely. Friendship part 2 coming soon, everyone.
Next week.
Yeah.
Followed by how's Joe doing? I got 2 sessions out of that one.
Yeah.
Right. No, this has been good, Joe. And like you said, sometimes you don't really think about it. It's just helped me frame some things that probably just happen organically and I don't really think about. So that's really good. So we can do some final takeaways and then I'll do a little blurb and we're all done. So Joe, what are you taking away from your own subject this week?
Yeah, I really like the conversation about validation. That you don't need to be validated to have friends. And that popular thing where Brian referenced around, if you're, at school and you're looking to, get in with a crowd, that you don't have to, be part of a crowd, just be part of a crowd and you be yourself. I really like that. That's my big takeaway.
Ryan?
That it's okay to not have friends. You'll survive. I
want a little burst of "I will survive" from you. Following that. Okay,
go Ryan. Go Ryan.
I know, and it makes you too. I think I think for everyone listening to take away from this, the validation point is key. I think everyone probably goes through some level of that in life, and it's friends will come and go, things will be there, but it's make sure you concentrate on yourself rather than amending yourself to get superficial validation from other people. I think it's a really important thing to take away. So that's what mine is from it this week. Probably not articulated very well, but I'm a little bit sleepy, which is why.
That's good.
Everyone out there, thank you for listening, watching, downloading. We appreciate you all. Don't forget to check out inspirationnation.org.uk for everything Inspiration Nation. We have the store there. Mugshot, if anyone's got a mug close by. I've got mine here for the camera on YouTube.
I've got my green stuff.
Face mask, wearing my zip-up hoodie as well. Joe's got his on there. Loads of great stuff. Full details of the coaching service. Sign up for Joe's newsletter. Links to the YouTube channel. Archive of all 130 plus episodes going back as well. Appreciate you out there. Follow us at Listen to IN as well, at Listen TOIN. Any comments and sharing, getting the message of the nation out there is much appreciated. And as a final plea, if you like what you're hearing, hit that review button. That's what helps the show grow. We really appreciate it from all of you. Right, I think it's just left to count us down and we will be back again next week. So thank you everyone out there. Guys, 3, 2, 1.
Inspiration
Nation.
Catch you guys
later.
We'll get more into it.
So I want to know now, what's your biggest takeaway? Don't forget to hashtag it with Inspiration Nation in the comments below and make sure you commit to action. So you can catch all our other Inspiration Nation podcast episodes right over here. So go check them out. And also, don't forget to subscribe because that will tell you when your next video goes live by you hitting that amazing bell. So until next time, it's Inspiration Nation, and I'll see you right over there.